So, Kaylee, how are you today? We are sitting down with Kaylee Young today. She is going to share her story with you guys, what she went through with drugs and a lifestyle of chaos, and how God has transformed that lifestyle today. Kaylee grew up in a Christian home. And she was a good kid, but at a point you started to turn away from that, and I guess you were introduced to drugs and that kind of thing. So take us back to when you were first introduced to drugs and started using drugs.
I started smoking weed for the first time around the age of 14. I only did it a couple of times throughout high school, and drank a little bit, but it was my relationships that were mainly addicting for me. I always had to have somebody, a friend, a boyfriend, somebody to latch onto. I had a boyfriend that I was steadily with for a long time throughout high school, and really after that relationship ended is where the drugs got heavy, because I didn't know what to do without a person.
Yeah.
And I had a friend that basically was like, we can just party and it'll make you feel better. And for a little while, it did. I'm not going to lie to you. It was fun and I enjoyed it, but it started taking a toll on my life after every day.
Mm-hmm.
For, at least a year straight, I was having to have something every single day to get through my day, to go to work, to be able to function, or I was just a mess.
So would you say that you were almost addicted to a relationship or a certain relationship?
Yes.
Did that start before the drugs or after?
Yes, it started before the drugs, being addicted to just comfort in general.
Yeah. And when you started using, did you feel like that was comforting to you?
Yes, 100%. I found it to be enjoyable, very enjoyable. And then at some point I realized I could just do drugs, and I don't need a man. I don't need anybody. I can just do drugs and do whatever I want to, not have anybody weighing me down, because this makes me feel good. So I smoked weed every single day. I had to have it to go to work. I could not breathe without it or do anything without it. And I thought it was helping my mental health.
Right. Well, let me stop you right there. How old were you when this started, when you started smoking weed? Yeah, every day.
18. Like right after, it was COVID whenever I graduated high school. And so we left for spring break and never went back. And it was around that time that I was still with my boyfriend at the time. We ended up smoking weed, every single day.
Yeah.
And he actually was an alcoholic already from the beginning of our relationship, and I hated it, and tried to get him to stop. And then finally, it was kind of one of those things where I was just like, if you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue with him anymore. And smoking weed made me feel good, so I just started doing that all the time. And so we did that together, and I started doing it every day and had to have it until it started making me sick. And I always had heard my whole life that, weed's good for you. It's not going to make you sick. It's, fine for you.
It's natural.
Yes, it's natural. It comes from the ground. It's all good.
Did it start making you sick from the beginning? Like
after a while of.
How long?
I'd say it was about 6 months of me using every single day.
Yeah.
That it started to set into my body. And I didn't know it was the weed at first. I just started vomiting nonstop. I mean, I would just be over the toilet and it would not stop. And I mean, no stopping. Sit there for hours puking and puking until I was finally so tired, I fell asleep and then wake up sick again. Couldn't eat anything, couldn't drink anything, would get so dehydrated and puking up so much that I was puking up black, like tar.
Oh.
And my mom I called her and I was like, something is wrong with me. I need to go to the emergency room. And when I got there and they saw me, I believe it was the Lord that revealed this to me, because I don't even know why this doctor would have thought that's what it was. But he asked me, are you a marijuana user? And because I described my symptoms to him, and the only thing that would relieve my symptoms temporarily was a hot shower, like scalding hot. And I guess maybe that's why when I told him, because that's one of the main symptom relievers is the hot shower. And
Really?
Yes.
That's odd.
And he asked, are you a marijuana user? And I said, yes. And he said, okay, well, there's this, it's almost like an allergy. It's called cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. Check me if you want to. And it's just where after a while, if you smoke weed, your body has an allergic reaction to it. And people have died from it before, but it's not something that's talked about very much. And so people don't take it very seriously, but it is extremely serious. And I think more people have it than they know about.
I know, like when I first, your mom first told us that you had that, I was like, I never heard of that at all, and it's strange because, you hear of people using marijuana and stuff for medical purposes to stop vomiting and stuff like that. But it also obviously had an adverse effect on you.
Yes, 100%. And
did that stop you from using?
No, no, it didn't, because I had friends that told me, oh, your mom just told the doctor to say that because she doesn't like you smoking weed. Yes.
Wow.
Told me that. And I believed that. I was like, of course she doesn't want me to be smoking weed every day. It's not good or healthy for my lifestyle or for your life. It's not a good lifestyle. And so I thought, yeah, that's probably true. She probably pulled him to the side and said, listen, she smokes weed every day.
Yeah.
So tell her that's why. It sounds so crazy, but one of my friends did mention that to me, and other people were like, that's not what's wrong with you. It's fine. Just keep smoking it. If it makes you feel better, smoke it.
But you kept on having the same symptoms.
Yes. And then after a while, I realized, okay, this is what this is, but I can maintain it. I can handle it. Like, I'll just smoke weed for a couple of weeks until I start to feel sick. And then the second I start to feel sick, I'll detox for a couple of weeks.
So it took a while for it to build up for you to start actually feeling sick?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I was like, it wasn't like I got near it and I started breaking out hives or something like that. No. It's like it had to build up in my system. So I started doing that where I would get sick and then I'd stop for a couple of weeks, but that was not working for me because I needed something. Like I needed to be high.
So at this point you were just smoking weed. Were you drinking?
Yeah, some, but it wasn't like I was relying on drinking. It was
right.
Just the weed. But I drank socially and stuff. But I realized I have to have something. These little breaks, I can't do it, so I've got to find something else.
Yeah.
I specifically remember having a panic attack and looking at the guy that I used to be with and being like, I need you to find me something right now because I have to have something and I can't smoke weed. I've got to have something. So he hit up a girl that he knew that had Xanax. And I took a bar for the first time that night and I fell asleep in my food.
Passed out.
Yes, passed out in my food. But I woke up the next morning feeling more refreshed than I've ever felt in my life. Like I felt like I had the best sleep I've ever had in my life. And I was like, whoa, that made me feel so good. Like I know I wasn't awake or aware of it, but the next morning I felt so good. I was like, oh, I like that. So when I'm on my little breaks, I can just take one of these and I'll feel better,
Yeah.
And so that's when Xanax started kind of being incorporated into my drug use.
So were you doing Xanax and smoking weed?
Yeah. Then it got to the point where it was just both of them, Clonopins too.
Yeah. Were you just constantly trying to were you trying to escape reality? Are you?
Yeah. I don't think I realized I was doing it at first.
Right.
But I was.
Yeah. Looking back, you can see that you were
100%.
Yeah.
I was definitely trying to escape reality. My whole life was a wreck. At this point, I was on and off with the guy that I'd been in a relationship with in high school. And so we were always fighting and getting on and off back together. And then my friends were all on drugs. and all partying. I mean, I was going to work, and then as soon as I got off, getting high, drinking, go to sleep, wake up, do it all over again.
At this point, did you think that it was an issue?
No, I eventually thought that, I would settle down and
You're just going through a phase.
yes, just going through a phase, and this is just a moment. This isn't going to last. I'll stop at one point, and I thought I had control over it. I could stop if I wanted to.
Yeah, I think especially when you're in addiction. I've been in addiction before too, and that's the first sign that you don't have control. When you say that you think you have control, I got this in control, so I can stop when I want to. I'm not addicted. And so moving forward, how's your relationship with your family at this point?
Still it started out bad from the get-go. I mean, me and my mom fought a lot, couldn't agree on anything, and mainly just because I was living a completely different lifestyle than what I was raised like. And she didn't understand. But I thought that this was necessary for me to go through this, like do all these things to make myself feel better about things that had happened in my past. And then I'd get over it eventually.
Yeah.
But that this was how it had to be for a little while. I was just going to live it up for a little bit and get over it. This was what I had to do to get over it.
Yeah, so you were just using the drugs to cover that stuff up. And were you holding a job during this point of your life?
For a while I did, but I would stay at a job for a little bit, and then I'd either get into it with a coworker or not want to go to work because I was doing drugs the night before and hungover the next morning. And so I would just hop from job to job to job to job. I always had a job, but it was hopping from different ones consistently, like over and over again.
Are you still living at home during all this?
Yes. For most of it, I lived at home. There was a couple of times that I moved out of my mom's house and moved in with a friend so that I could just smoke weed all the time and stay messed up.
No rules. No rules.
No rules. Not have to go home and face my mom, ask me, where you been? What are you doing? Why were you out this late? I didn't want to be questioned. So I moved in with a friend, and that didn't work. And so I'd go home and I'd just step all over my mom, and it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Because she just kind of let me step all over her, and I did.
Right. So this kind of, your life was kind of starting to snowball?
Yes.
At this point, how old are you at this point probably?
Now this is where things get fuzzy because like I said, I was heavily using, my mental stability was out of control.
What do you mean when you say mental stability was out of control?
Like I felt like I was riding on these really high highs.
Yeah.
And then I would hit these really low lows. Went to the mental hospital several times on those really low lows where I just wanted to end everything and it'd all just be over. If I could explain it in any way, it's like you're spinning in circles, just round and round and round and round and round. And then it gets to a point that you get so dizzy that you have to fall. You fall over.
Yeah.
So
when you run those low lows, did it make you want to use to get back up?
Yeah, but there was points that, I'd gotten into it with all my people that I, would smoke with or get weed from, or couldn't get weed because I was sick or couldn't find anything else, didn't know where to get it. And so I would just inflict pain on myself, like I'm ready just for this to be over with.
Yeah, lash out. And so you said that this is where everything kind of started getting foggy. Yeah. Were you starting to try to venture into harder drugs at this point?
So the first hard drug, what I would consider a hard drug that I did was acid. I dropped acid, and it opened me up to a whole nother world that I didn't even know truly existed. I was always taught about demonic stuff whenever I was growing up in church, but I didn't really believe in it. I mean, I knew that it was real, but I couldn't see it with my eyes, so it was hard to believe for a fact. Whenever I did acid for the first time, I know that I was seeing a demonic realm for 100%. But it opened me up to this whole other world, and I thought I was seeing a different part of myself that I needed to see. I was like, okay, this is what I need to do to heal me. This is healing me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I would come down and I'd be so depressed and so sad. And I was like, okay, you need to feel this pain.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever you come out of it, you're going to feel so much better. You're going to be like, wow, I really needed to get high like that so that I could see all this stuff about myself and get through it. And now I understand myself. It was like I had some kind of revelation or something.
Yeah.
When really
that was far from the truth.
Yeah, it was taking me down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was horrible. That was the first, like I said, hard drug that I ever ventured into. And then
Did that make you want to do it more or try more drugs? Or
yeah, I did that several times. And then after like the third time, I did it like 3 times in 1 month. And my brain was like in shock.
Mm-hmm.
And I was mentally not okay after that. And then I was like, okay, I don't need to do that again, because I was thinking some pretty crazy stuff after that was over with. I was thinking I was a time traveler, all kinds of stuff that had me out there.
Wow.
But so yeah, but I still continued down a path of bad stuff. This is where I kind of started incorporating New Age practices in my addiction.
You mean like with crystals? And
Yes, I got heavy into like crystals and tarot and your astrology signs, and it says, you know, who you are. A lot of that after this became a part of my life.
Yeah.
And then things just continued.
So this was just, we were spiraling out of control. You were not in control of your life at this point.
No.
When did you try meth for the first time?
So I actually had went to my first rehabilitation program. It was an outpatient program that I would just go to every single day. My mom wanted me to go to it because she believed, you know, I had a problem and was trying to help me. And at that point, I agreed with her. Yeah, I think I do have a problem. And so I tried, but I still didn't want to be done completely yet. I wanted to be done, but I didn't want to be done.
Yeah.
And
you were holding on to it.
I was still holding on to it. And I remember in that time they were drug testing me. And so I would drink. I started drinking pretty heavily whenever I was going there, because they would drug test me. Mm-hmm. That was my problem, was weed at the time, and Xanax. So they would just drug test me and not breathalyze me.
Yeah.
So I would drink. But then me and one of my friends that I started partying with at the beginning of all of this got back into contact. And I had heard from some other friends of friends, that she had been doing meth. And at first I was angry. I was like, why would she do that? We, you know, said we were never going to do that drug. But then again, we also told each other we would do any drug together if we were together with each other. And she had kind of stopped being my friend a little bit before that. And so I was pretty offended. I was like, wow, she didn't, you know, want to do it with me, but she wants to do it with all these other people. And now I wish that I would have just cut my losses, but I didn't. I was like, hey, I really want to hang out with you. I want to talk to you. I want to, you know, be friends again. And I thought,
because you wanted to try meth.
No, it was more like I wanted to be her friend again, and thought this is what I need to do to be in the circle, to fit in.
Okay.
This is going to get me back into this friend group, because she was like, in my mind, my best friend, like my sister. Like, I thought this girl was my soulmate, not like a relationship type soulmate, but just like my best friend.
Yeah.
And so I thought, this is the way to get back close to her, is if I become a part of what she's doing, because this is why she doesn't want to be around me. It's because she's doing something that she doesn't want to involve me in. Well, I want to go. I want to do it full force. So I showed up at her apartment, and we talked for a little bit, smoked some weed, and I finally brought it up, and I said, hey, I heard that you were doing meth. And she kind of got sad for a second, and now looking back, I understand when I first mentioned it, she probably was looking for a way to talk about how miserable she was.
Yeah.
In it. but I didn't give her that opportunity to say that. I was like, well, whip it out. Let me do it with you.
Right.
And she was like, huh? You know, kind of thrown off by that.
Mm-hmm.
But misery loves company. And so whenever I said that, it was like go time. And for the next 3 days, I did not sleep. I didn't think, I don't think, for like 5 seconds. I don't think I thought about anything. It was just like a ray of light.
Mm-hmm.
A ray of light goes at the craziest speed. That's how fast. I think that's how they call it speed. It
Light
feels
speed.
like you're
Speed of light.
Yes, it's like you're like zoom.
Yeah.
You know, but whenever I started coming down was when it really all hit me what I had just done.
What'd that feel like?
A weight on top of my shoulders that I thought that I could only pick the weight up off of me if I did it again.
Mm-hmm.
If I stayed high, I was like, I need to stay this way.
Yeah.
I need to just stay high because feeling like this,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to feel
You didn't want to feel like the way you were coming down,
No.
so you thought the only way to combat that would be to just get high again.
Right. I was so paranoid. I remember that was the first night that I ever wrecked my car. I wrecked a car. We were taking Xanax and meth at the same time. And so we bottomed out, basically. And I woke up in the ditch in front of Blackwell Liquor
Mm-hmm.
in the back seat of my car, and someone else was driving it. And I thought, how did I get back here? You know, I didn't even know what was happening.
Yeah.
All I knew to do was to call my dad. And so my dad came and picked us up, and he was telling me, you know, I'm taking you home. And I said, no, you're not. You're taking me back to where I was. But they took my keys, I believe, so that I would have to go home because I couldn't drive my car. They weren't going to let me drive my car because I was clearly out of my mind. But they didn't take the car. They took my keys, I guess. I think. Something like that. And no, they didn't take my keys. My bad. I still had them. But I ended up leaving the place where I was at. I guess my dad dropped me off there, and I ended up leaving there because I was so paranoid. I was afraid to go to sleep because I thought that the people I was with were going to steal my car.
Mm-hmm.
So I took my car to Casey's and Atkins, and I sat there, and I felt like everybody was staring at me. I was so paranoid. It's like everyone was looking at me, and I was just eat up with guilt.
Yeah.
Like, what have I just done? People know. They all know.
Paranoid.
Very paranoid. And then I finally went home, and my mom opened the door, and I just told her. It's the weirdest thing. I just said, Mom, I did meth. And immediately she was like, what are you talking about? And I just said, I started crying. I said, I messed up. I did something really bad. She said, that's not just messing up, Kaylee. At this point, you're making a choice about this lifestyle. You aren't just messing up anymore. I had basically just not went back to my job. So in 3 days, I got kicked out of the recovery program because clearly I went off a bender.
Yeah.
I didn't show up for work, so I lost my job.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wrecked a car.
Yeah.
And my mom told me, I'm not letting you keep this car because my name's on it.
Mm-hmm.
You keep acting like this, I'm going to end up with payments. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So in 3 days, I lost a car, lost a job, and lost, my sport.
Yeah. So your life's really going down right now at this point.
Yes. And when all that started happening, it felt like I might as well just give up and just start.
You still had no desire to stop.
No desire to stop.
So what happens next? Like, did you start casually doing meth, or did you just get into like this full-blown meth addiction?
No, I didn't do it again for a while after that.
Really?
No, I didn't do it again for a while after that. I ended up going to my first inpatient rehab.
After all this?
After all this. In Texas. And I did my 30 days. I think right before I went, either right before or after, I can't remember, I moved in with a girl, and she told me, it's just the people you're around. It's not you. You need to come move up here with me, and you won't do meth again. Like, you just need to come move up here with me. Yeah. I think it was before I went to my first real rehab. And so I smoked every day there with her, smoked weed every day there with her. My mental health was completely shot still. I was super depressed because I was locked off from all of my family. All I wanted to do was get high, get drunk. And then I would come home on the weekends and hang out with people, and I would get a hold of Adderall. And that was like a similar to meth, not anywhere near as extreme, but similar. And
it's an upper.
I would get on that to put in place of the meth until I told myself I'm not going to do meth again.
Yeah.
But on the inside, I thought about it every day. I was like, man, that's the best high I've ever had. But it's not socially acceptable. This is not something people are like, normal people are like, okay, let's all sit down together and do this. It's people that are really off the deep end that are doing this, So I can't be doing this. If I'm going to stay in the land of having a home and at least halfway living, I'm going to have to stay with what everyone else is doing. So I tried my best to just level myself out with weed and alcohol and Adderall, but it just wasn't working. And I called my mom and told her to come and get me, and she took me to a mental hospital after that, because I was pretty sure that I wanted to die. I just told her I need to go somewhere. And so she took me to a mental hospital. And I think it's after that I went to the rehab. And I did my 30 days, but literally, as soon as I was on the way home, I was like, I'm ready to go get high. I'm ready to go get drunk and high. I'm so glad I did this 30-day little detox.
Yeah.
And that really convinced me I got this under control, because I did it for 30 days.
Yeah.
I got my little certificate. I'm good.
Well, almost like you were doing this stuff to pacify your family and all this stuff. You know, it really was never hey, I'm going to do this because I want to get better.
Yeah, it was really because, I knew I didn't have anywhere else to go. And my mom was the only one that I could live with. And she's like, you're not living with me unless you get some help and you get right. And so I would go to these rehabs and do what I needed to do and then come back and go right back to my lifestyle.
Yeah.
So when I got back this next time, I started, right back with the partying. And then I really got into dabbling in some different kind of pills. I was taking morphine. I was taking oxys, hydros, surely anything that I could get my hands on. I was taking it. Because it wasn't like I had a person to give it to me all the time. It was just whenever it was there at a party or whenever someone had it, I would say, hey, I want some of that. And they'd give it to me. And I was drinking and I was smoking weed every single day. And then I started talking to this guy who was really into raves. You know what those are? Like, you know what they are. Humongous parties, strobe lights, just
loud music.
A bunch of people on drugs.
Yeah.
Doing crazy stuff. And I started talking to this guy that was doing that stuff, and he invited me to come hang out with him. And so I went and hung out with him, and I started sucking out of balloons, whippets, and closing off my airway to my brain. And I loved that. We started doing cocaine together. And there for a while I was doing cocaine. I did ketamine once at a rave. I did Molly once at a concert, but the cocaine was consistent. And so everything just started to spiral again. And I really thought, this cocaine really just makes me mad because it's similar to meth, but it's just, there's nothing like meth. I'm just going to say that. There's nothing exactly like it. And there's nothing that's going to make you feel exactly like it makes you feel. And so I was like, I've just got to get a hold of some meth because I can't do this. And I'll just tell people it's cocaine.
Yeah.
And I ended up leaving my mom's house and going and staying with some other people, like different people, several different people over the span of time. And
so you're just hopping around, like no
sleeping
job,
on couches, and just hopping from guy to guy, not even in a relationship, just empty.
Yeah.
Empty.
You were chasing the high.
Yes. And I didn't care truly about anybody. I just was trying to get high and make myself feel good. And I remember telling a girl that I lived with at the time, or was staying with, I didn't live there, I didn't even have a bed. I was living out of a bag. I told her, I said, this is cocaine. I need you to take me to go get some coke.
Yeah.
Because for some reason, that's a little more
acceptable.
Socially acceptable, cocaine, with drinking especially. And so I was like, I need you to take me to go get some cocaine. And I made her stay on the phone with me the whole time because I actually had walked to a gas station in Russellville, and I was sitting there, and I would go to the bathroom and hit my pipe and come back out and just be tweaking. And this guy came in and he looked at me, and it's almost like familiar spirits that know each other. I didn't even know this guy. And he sits in front of me and is like, you about it? And he just knew somehow.
Wow.
And asked me if I wanted to come snort some lines with him. And of course I was scared because he was like way older than me, old dude. And so that's that night I told that girl, I need you to take me to get some cocaine, because he told me what apartments he lived in. And we went over there. I had her stay on the phone with me, and I went up there and
You had no idea who this guy was or anything?
No. This is when it started to get kind of risky. I was kind of doing whatever I could to get the drug.
Yeah.
Go around whoever, get whatever. So I went in there, and he had lines laid out. And I said, oh, I'm not staying. I just wanted to get what I needed and leave. He's like, well, just snort it right here. And I thought, if it's laced, I'm not snorting it right here. I'm going to take it and I'm going to go do it by myself. So I said, no. And I was on the phone with her, and I was talking to her and so he wasn't going to argue with me. So I took it and I ran out the door.
Yeah.
And and it was literally just a little bit, but I was itching for it that bad. And we got back to her house and I snorted it. And I don't even think I was high for about 5 hours, because after a while of doing it, it's not going to do the same thing. I was still early on in getting high, so it still did get me high, but it's not going to make you as high. You're never going to be as high as you were the first time you did it.
Right.
Never. You're going to be chasing that, but you're never going to be that high.
You're never going to find it.
Then I got in contact with Tyler.
How did that happen?
Well, I went to a church service for Christmas because Brooklyn was in the Christmas play, and I wanted to see her in the Christmas play. So I went, and I think she was singing in the Christmas play, and Tyler was there. Don't even know why, but he was there, and I remembered him from growing up, being in church together, but he looked completely different. You could definitely tell he had been on drugs, because he was a pretty hefty boy all of our life, and all of a sudden he was like really super skinny.
Yeah.
But I thought he was cute, and so I asked my mom about him, and she told me that he had been struggling with the same things that I had. And so I thought, well, that'll be fun. I just hit this dude up. That'll be another person that I could just hang out with and do drugs with.
Yeah.
He had tried to we talked on the phone a lot. He had tried to get me to hang out with him several times, and it just never happened. We'd always make like passes like, oh, you want to come hang out with me, girl, or whatever, and it just would never happen. Well, then one time he asked me to come hang out, and I decided I wanted to go. And I had somebody come and get me and take me there.
Yeah.
Gave me a ride down there, and he met me at the Casey's General Store in Perryville, and I was confused because he was on foot. I was like, where's this dude's vehicle? So I get out. There is no vehicle.
Yeah.
He starts walking. He's like, oh, follow me. We start walking down the side of the road, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, it's the middle of the night. We're walking down the side of the road. I mean, I've walked during the day.
Yeah.
But never walked in the middle of the night. It's just really sketchy. I was like, I'm really nervous about this. I quickly realized he was living off the streets.
Yeah.
And this was that
was normal for him.
Yeah, this was normal for him, and I was getting deep.
Yeah.
It actually scared me the first time I hung out with him, because I was like, this is really deep. Like, this is deeper than I thought that I was ever going to go.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm sitting in this house with no electricity. It stunk in there.
You didn't have running water or anything, did you?
No. And trash everywhere. And sometimes it was freezing. Sometimes it was blistering hot. And we're sitting there hitting just this tiny little pipe. that's burnt and living horribly. I ended up leaving after the first time though. I stayed for like 2 days and I was so scared out of my mind because this woman that clearly had been using pretty heavily for a long time was out of her mind, and it freaked me out. She was saying all kinds of weird out of mind stuff. And so it freaked me out and I left. And I went to another rehab in Colorado. I thought, I've got to go get myself right. And I genuinely thought this. I was like, I need to go get myself right because I'm around some demonic stuff. And I knew that at that point. This is evil. And I don't know how to stop now. I really don't. I don't know how to quit. And so I thought, I need to get away from here as far away as possible and just stop. So I went to Colorado. I was there for about 2 months. And then finally, after 2 months, the shell started getting, uncomfortable. And I was ready to go back to my lifestyle.
Yeah.
And it didn't even take not a month after I was back home for me to lose another job. I didn't have a car. I also had wrecked another vehicle while I was high in the span of all that I just told. So lost another vehicle in between all that. I didn't have a car. My grandma was taking me back and forth to my job. I just thought it was all pointless. And I thought, I'm ready just to go back and get high. I was thinking about hitting that nasty pipe and how good it was making me feel, even though I was surrounded by nastiness. I wasn't thinking about any of that stuff. I was thinking about the high.
Yeah.
And I thought, that did feel good. It'll be all right. I'll just go down there for a little bit.
So you went back to Tyler, to
I ended up going back to Tyler, and then I didn't leave for a good while.
Yeah.
And that's when I completely lost all self-respect, any ounce of respect I had for anybody else.
Yeah.
I was full throttle onward.
Were you doing whatever you had to do to get high?
Well, I mean, walking, as far as walking, miles and miles and miles, yes.
I guess what I'm saying is you didn't have a job, you didn't have a car, you didn't have your family, you were living off the street, basically, and all you thought about was getting high.
Yes.
All you cared about was getting high, right?
Yes, 100%. And then I had Tyler. And in a weird, sick way, I mean, I cared about him too, but it was almost in a sense like, he's all I got. This is the only familiar thing that I have in this place that I have no idea. All these people, I don't know these people. Yeah. He does. But he's the only familiar thing because I really honestly didn't even know him.
Right.
I knew of him when we were going to church together, but we didn't know each other personally,
He was associated though with your family and your church 100%, and all that.
But we weren't on a deep level of knowing each other. But he was the only familiar thing that I had. I'd lost everything else. And so I held on to him and drugs like death grip. We fought all the time. Things got physical a lot. And
between you and Tyler?
Yes.
Think it was because of the drugs?
Oh yeah, 100% because of the drugs. Because everyone was like that. Everyone who was with someone on the drugs was beating on each other, constantly in fights, profanity, like bad fights.
Yeah.
It was all of the relationships on drugs were all awful. And so I was like, this is just normal. This is just how it is when you're on drugs. This is thug life.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what I thought. We are thugs. This is how our life is. Tyler was always thieving. I mean, always robbing people to get drugs. I think most of the time when I had drugs with him was because he got them for us by stealing things.
Right.
Because you said, we didn't have any money.
Yeah.
So how are we getting our drugs?
Right.
And at that point, it hadn't got to a point where I was having to pay. But I learned that nothing in this life is free.
Yeah.
Nothing. If you're getting a shower, if someone's letting you take a shower at their house when you're on drugs, they're expecting something from you, whether it be that day or a year later.
Yeah.
They're going to wait until you're so hooked that they can get whatever they want from you. And thank God that it never got to that point. God saved me,
Yeah.
but it was getting there.
So all this was, how long did this go on for?
I'm going to say it went on for about a year, almost.
And was there what point where because like through your whole time you were battling with drugs, you never wanted to get clean or try to change for yourself. But was there a point where you were like, I'm done with this? Like, was there a moment where you're like, I got to stop? Like
Yes.
For me, no matter what, I've got to stop.
Yes, whenever I was 100% scared for my life. Just to make a long story short, it got to a point where I knew my payment was fixing to be expected.
Mm-hmm.
Just by the way that the people that I was hanging out with, mind you, these people had been in and out of prison. They had been in and out of it, not just for drugs, but for assaulting young girls, women, drugging people,
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of stuff of that manner. And I knew this, but I just thought not me until the behaviors that they were exhibiting around me. I was starting to think, okay, it's coming.
Yeah.
They're going to lock down on me and I'm not ever going to make it home.
Yeah. So you begin getting scared for your own life.
Yes.
At this point.
Like in the sense of really bad stuff happening to me. Because
Yeah.
I knew, always thought that the drugs were going to kill me and I was okay with that. I would tell myself, I hope that I die doing drugs because at least I'll die doing something I love.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that kind of thing. It wasn't like my life. It was more like, I don't want to be raped and I don't want to be drugged by somebody. I want to take my drugs willingly and not be drugged up and raped.
Right.
Like, that's more where my life was at.
Yeah.
So
what did you start? Did God start moving things around for you to begin to get clean? How'd that whole process go when you were like, when you decided you needed out of this? What started happening? What events started happening for you to get out of that?
Well, so on and off, I had tried to get clean, went to rehabs, all this and that. And my mom had helped me most of the time. And finally, she said, I'm done. I'm washing my hands of this. She's going to have to do this on her own. She's going to have to want it so bad that she's going to go and she's going to find a way out of this. So she pretty well was done. And my dad gave me one more last opportunity. He said, Kaylee, this is it. If you mess this up this time, I'm done too. And that's just going to be your life. And he said, I hate this, but you're going to have to learn. And the only way to learn is for you to be left on your butt. And he said, so this is it. This is the last chance I'm going to give you. My stepmom is the president of the Banks of America in Little Rock. She's a pretty known lady. And she got me into a really nice homeless shelter in Little Rock called Our House. And they basically they help you get a job. They give you a bed, a place to stay. And it was nice, It wasn't like what you would think a homeless shelter would be in your head. It was a really nice place. And had warm beds, food every single day. And that was one thing. I had not had a shower. Oh my goodness. Didn't have to beg for a shower. Just get a nice hot shower.
It's a lot of times we get people, like
take that stuff for granted.
Exactly.
I never in my whole life, when I was in high school, I can definitely tell you, I never would have been able to tell you that that's where I would be.
Right.
And I never thought I would ever go without running water, food. Those are privileges. And people don't understand that. They think this is just life and you just wake up and that's all stuff that's just given to you. No, those are privileges. For people that want to be members of society.
Yeah. Do what you're supposed to do.
Yes, you can't just sit on your butt and expect everybody just to wait on you hand and foot forever.
So this homeless shelter, this lady's place, you got a job, like they made you save money.
Yeah.
They kind of
brought structure back to your life.
Yeah, structure, and helped you get back, or almost taught you how to be a productive citizen.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. I mean, it was enforced. You had to be. And they
Or
would,
you couldn't be there, right?
right. They would randomly drug test you. They didn't drug test me when I came in, but gosh, I remember when I went in and I didn't have anything to my name. I had everything I ever owned stolen from me. I took loads and loads of stuff from my original bedroom at my mom's to these trap houses and everything that I owned stolen from me. I had nothing that was originally mine. And I was wearing my dad's a Razorback hoodie, and it was so big on me because I was so tiny. I lost so much weight. I think the lowest I ever got was 113 pounds, and my normal weight is 140.
Yeah.
Like, that's usually where I stay. And I was so tiny. I looked so rough. And I remember just going in there thinking, I just want to go to bed and just sleep. Yeah. I've been up for so long and just ran so hard. I had scabs all over my body because I got so high that I thought I had pimples all over my body, and I was picking at them. And there's nothing there. Yeah. But there was after I picked at myself so hard, and they were oozing. It was disgusting. I even had been hospitalized at one point for running myself so hard on the streets that I forgot to drink any water, didn't have any water at my disposal. Yeah. Was so dehydrated that my kidneys were failing and I had sepsis. Wow. Almost died. And I mean, I still went back into the streets after that. But so I'm in this homeless shelter. They were good to me, and I got a job, and I started, thinking I'm really going to get this time. And
you wanted it. You wanted it now at this point.
Because I didn't ever want to have to go back to not having a shower or food. It wasn't worth it to me. Yeah. But I still missed Tyler a lot, and I still thought about him a lot, and thought, I really screwed up by going down there. Messed it. Not that his life was not already messed up, it was, but I feel like I had heightened it by stepping in and made everything 10 times worse, because I really don't think that his family really knew how bad he was until I got down there and started causing a scene. And so I felt like I just made everything worse. And I just wished that on some other universe or planet that me and him could have worked out. And I remember praying. I started reading my Bible and praying whenever I got in there, and I remember praying to God. Did
you feel like, like when you were got in there and you got some structure back, and did you have a thought like, man, I need God back in my life? Did you have those thoughts?
I knew if I was going to get better, I had to have God. Yeah. I was not anywhere perfect, and that's how I know God's grace exists, because I was still cussing like crazy. Mm-hmm. I was still, vaping and smoking cigarettes and just still kind of holding on to some of the things of that lifestyle. And God still loved me. Yeah. And I actually started a relationship with him while I was still like that. And he cleaned me up. Right. But I was still like that when we started our relationship. And I was reading my Bible every day, and he convicted me of those things later. But he loved me even though I was like that.
I think that's why a lot of people won't even come to God or come to church, because they feel like they have to get cleaned up first. But that's a lie that has to take place, because you come to him like you are, and then we're saved by grace through faith. We're justified instantly, but then we start this walk with him, and like you said, he starts to
clean you up. Sanctification. It's glory. And you're never going to be perfect. And as long as you're here on this side of heaven, he's going to be working on you on something. There's always going to be something. But I remember praying to God, I love Tyler, and I wish that we could be together. But even if we can't be together, heal him. Yeah. Save him. Mm-hmm. Because that's all I want, is to see him be saved, because I do care about him. Mm-hmm. Even if that does not look like him being with me. Yeah. And just a little while after that, I ended up getting itchy in my shell again, and I got into it with a staff member at the homeless shelter, and I got kicked out. Yeah. And I ended up, the first thing that I did was think, run, go right back. Yeah. So I'm on my way back. I had my phone turned off. My dad had tried to call me. I was like, I'm not talking to him. I'm just going to turn my phone off and I'm going to go straight to where I think Tyler is.
Yeah.
Because I had been in contact with him a little bit, even though I wasn't supposed to be, but I had a good idea where he was. So I just turned my phone off and I went back.
Mm-hmm.
And on that drive back there, I thought, you could do the same thing you do every single time. Run right back to everything that you're used to, wreck your car, lose everything all over again, and you and Tyler be running the streets and right back to point zero. Or you could just give him the opportunity to leave. If he says no, just leave. Do not stay there. Because I'd instantly regretted even trying to go back. I was like, this is not good because I don't want this. I don't want this. But
so you went from going back to be in a lifestyle again to saying now I'm going to try to get Tyler out.
Because that's really what I wanted, was just to be with him.
Yeah.
But I knew if I was going to be with him, that was what was going to happen, was drugs. So I needed to take him with me. If anything. If he said no, okay, I was just going to leave.
Yeah.
But at least give him the opportunity to come with me. So I did. I got there and he was there exactly where I thought he was going to be. And I just said, will you come with me? And he kind of just stood there for a second, and I think he thought about it for just a second, and he just, okay. So he just got in the car with me with literally nothing.
I can see it, knowing Tyler now, I could definitely see him saying that.
I'm just like, okay. And so he got in, and he just had this little bitty drawstring bag. He had no shirt on.
His only possession.
Yeah, and a fishing pole.
Of course.
But I did take him to this other trap house so he could go in and get some more pants or clothes that he had. Only a couple of things. And then we went back.
Where'd y'all go after you got him, you got his things? Where'd y'all go?
A hotel.
In Little Rock?
Yeah.
So you went back to Little Rock. You got him, went back to Little Rock.
Yeah.
Did you tell your dad that you had him with you?
No. I knew my dad wouldn't help me anymore if he knew I had him with me. But I'm almost positive he knew the whole time that he was with me.
Right.
But he wanted me to tell the truth. And I was too scared. So we get back into Little Rock, and I kid you not, I've never had anybody just whip out meth and offer it to me like that until we were trying to actually get sober, because we both agreed, okay, at this point, we love each other. We really do.
Yeah.
And we don't want this life anymore.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to fight nail and tooth to get out of this.
Yeah.
Whatever we got to do, just as long as we are together, and we got to get out of this. We got offered meth 3 different times. It was flashed at us, shown to us. Hey, you mess around? Hey, you want some skate? That's what they called it there. And we said no, but it was like, what in the world?
Yeah.
Because I know that was the devil trying to pull me right back in.
Yeah, he was trying to get y'all back in.
Yeah, but it didn't work.
Well, fast forward to you got Tyler out of that. Y'all agreed you were going to get clean. I know. I can remember on the family side looking at you guys at this point. I know, we were praying that for y'all not to be together because we thought there was no way. But that just shows you how close-minded humans are, that you think it should be one way, but then God has a whole nother plan.
Yes, 100%.
And I think he brought y'all together for a reason. And I think you going back to get Tyler and him saying yes. It just started a slide into where you guys are at now.
There's a scripture in Genesis, the saving of many people. I can't remember the first part of the scripture, but he's talking about restoring people.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last part of the scripture, it says for the saving of many people. And I believe that to bring glory to his kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that he saved me and Tyler together for the saving of many people, because it didn't just stop there. I believe our story is saving other people and bringing other people back in.
But as for you, you thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good to bring to pass as the day to save many people alive. Maybe that's the one you're talking about?
Yeah, it is.
That's Genesis 50:20.
what the devil had for evil against us, the Lord had for good. And
That's
just
right.
like you said, your mind was closed to what the Lord can do.
Exactly.
But he's looking to set for how many people can he save?
Yeah.
How many more can he bring back to himself?
Yeah.
How much glory can he show through this?
Yeah.
And that was the way.
Yeah.
And because not only did he save our lives, but I mean, that's a testimony for, I mean, everyone around us.
Of course.
That opened their eyes to all of what God could do. That just showed his glory.
And once you guys actually said, hey, we're doing this thing, he started opening all kinds of doors for you guys. And so fast forward to now, tell everybody what God's done in your life. That's the cool part.
Yes, this is the cool part. So after we decided that we wanted to make God the center, it took a little bit, but he cleaned us up. We started going
Sanctification
back to
is a process.
Yes, it's a process. You don't start out perfect. And
No,
you're never perfect,
you're never
but
perfect.
you don't start out good.
That's what a lot of people don't realize too, is like we're all at different walks, different places in this sanctification process, just because say I got a buddy, he got saved yesterday and he still cusses. Does he still save? Absolutely. But God hasn't took that from him yet.
Right.
And that's the process.
100%. So we started attending church regularly again, and just
back to Bell's Chapel.
Yeah. And just after that, it's like everything was boom, boom, boom. We ended up getting convicted about living together and not being married. Mm-hmm. Our pastor actually paid the down payment for us to move back here.
Yeah.
So that we could be we literally lived right down the road from the church.
Yeah.
Bell's Chapel Road is where we lived.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Bell's Chapel.
Yeah. Like a half a mile away.
Yes. So we were right there in close proximity. We both had jobs. We're working. And then we both got convicted about living together and not being married. And so we got married. We didn't even have a big wedding at first or anything. We planned a wedding, but
I remember it was Wednesday night after service.
Yep. And we just held hands in the sanctuary and had a couple of family members around and got married right there. Mm-hmm. Didn't have a honeymoon or anything fancy like that, but I can tell you it was the best feeling ever. I felt like I had won the lottery.
Yeah.
I felt like the Lord was finally restoring to me all these dreams that I had that I thought were never going to come true, but I also had a different idea about these dreams.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to be these like really expensive type dreams where, kind of like Cinderella is just happily ever after, but it wasn't like that. It was like simple,
right,
but amazing.
Yeah.
The most simplistic, beautiful, amazing recovery. And I wouldn't have it any other way. So we got married, and then we were still living in a camper. Well, then we ended up moving in with my mom to try and save some money so we could actually get a place.
Right.
And I even remember then thinking, Lord, I don't see how you're going to work through this. We need a place to live. We can't live with my mom. And I want us to have our own place and be able
of course.
to live somewhere that's just ours. And then literally the next day, a house opened up right next to one of my church friends in town. And it was just weird. I was just
it's like, a God thing.
Yeah, it was definitely a God thing. I was like, okay, because I remember laying on the couch and literally just crying out to God, like, I don't see how you're going to work out in this, but I trust you.
Yeah.
And then, boom, there it was. And so we moved into that house, I think on Christmas Eve. And then the day after Christmas, so 2 days later, I was super sick. And I was like, something's wrong with me. And I called my mom and I said, will you give me a pregnancy test? Because, it's not like we're trying to have a baby or anything, but I'm sick and I just want to make sure that's not what it is.
Rule that out.
It was it. It was it. That line popped up so quick. I think the pregnancy line popped up before the not pregnancy line. And it was dark. I thought, oh my goodness. And me and my mom, that's who I was with when it happened. I just looked at her and I was like, this isn't real. And then it was my beautiful baby girl, Haven Elizabeth. Haven
is now born. She's on this earth. and we all love her so much. And what's crazy is too, I think I can speak for the entire family that like we couldn't imagine our life without Tyler. Like everyone loves him so much, and I'm so proud of y'all. Really.
It genuinely was the hardest thing that we've ever done to pull ourselves out of that darkness. And if I had any advice for anybody struggling with addiction, just speak the name of Jesus out loud, even if it feels so silly. I'd always heard my whole life that there was power in the name of Jesus. And that sounded silly to me, but even in my darkest moments, tweaked out, sitting in a trap house all alone, shivering, sick because I hadn't had any food, just out of my mind, hallucinating. I remember sitting with myself in the fetal position, holding my legs, rocking back and forth, saying Jesus, and saying the Lord's Prayer, Our Father, who art thou in heaven, until I passed out or something, and woke up the next day to a sunny day. And even though I was in a trap house with nastiness, no running water, no food, there was a roof over my head, and I had a pillow.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I firmly believe he protected you during all
100%.
that.
100%. But speak the name of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
It got me through some of the most hard times, even when I was dirty, even when I was not good.
Yeah.
I was wicked. I was the wicked it talks about in the Bible. But he still loved me.
Mm-hmm.
And the name of Jesus has so much power. It has so much power.
Well, thank you for sharing your testimony. And I pray that it helps someone, whoever finds this video. And I pray that you can, if you're in addiction, you can come out of addiction. If you're not in addiction, this keeps you from wanting to travel down that road.
And for any of my loved ones that we were close with in addiction, if you're watching this, you know our contact. You know how to get a hold of us. You got us on Facebook. We love you, and God loves you. And we want to see you set free. So you can talk to us anytime.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for coming, Kaylee.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Life After Sunday podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Please give us a like and a comment, and go follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. And as always, keep fighting the good fight.